solve for x and y. There are three methods in which to do this, but for now we will do the substitution method. Okay, so keep in mind the idea around the substitution method is that you will use one equation, make it a subject of formula, and we will substitute into the next equation. So the first thing we will do is we will label this as equation 1 and we label this as equation 2. So you're telling the examiner that when you make reference, these are the equations you will be speaking of. So what we will do is, before we write down anything, we will examine the both equations and look for an easier way of simplifying it in terms of y. So if you look at equation 1, you will see that they are all even numbers there. So if I had to make y the subject of formula, it will be much easier to work with than equation 2, because with the equation 2 we have an odd number and even number, so we would get a fraction. So try as far as possible to look at the both equations and determine which is easier to make as a subject of formula. So if I had to take the first equation, so taking first equation and I say 4x minus 2y is equal to 6. So I'm making y the subject of formula, so minus 2y is equal to, remember this becomes minus 4x plus 6. So I divide through by minus 2. Okay, and remember I'll be left with y here, and this is 2x, and this will be minus 3. So now that I've made this subject of formula, I can call this equation 3. So now all I have to do is I have to tell the examiner substitute, okay, equation 3 into equation, and I can choose equation 2. So now I'll substitute that into equation 2. So I'll be left with 2y. Now remember, let's just write it down so we know how we are substituting. So remember, wherever I see y, I will put this portion here. Alright, so where I'm going to see y, I'm going to put this, I'm going to substitute. That's the whole idea here. So it's 2 into 2x minus 3 plus 3x is equal to 8. So now I'll solve for x because there's only x's here. So I'm going to solve for x. So this becomes 4x, becomes minus 6 plus 3x is equal to 8. Joining the x's together and keeping them on the left hand side, so I'll have 7x is equal to, taking the minus x onto the other side, it will be 14. Remember, the minus 6 becomes the plus, so eventually x will become 2. Alright, so now that I know my value for x, I will substitute. Then all I have to say is substitute, right, x is equal to 2 into, I can say equation 1. Either of the equations, you still get the same answer. So I'll have 4 times 2, right, I'm going to say times 2, because now x is equal to 2, minus 2y is equal to 6. So I'll have 8 minus 2y is equal to 6. So minus 2y is equal to, take the 8 on the other side, and I'll be left with minus 2. By now you should know how to do this, because you need to work a little bit faster now that you are on the FET level. So try to get used to how we're doing this. So it saves you time in the exams. We divide both sides by minus 2. And then my final answer will be y is equal to 1. So now that I have x and I have y, so then remember, you'll set your work out neatly. So my coordinates would obviously be x for x and for y, right? It would be 2 and 1. Now just note that sometimes they'll ask you to represent this graphically, and you must know that even though these formulas are given, or should I say equations are given to you, you can put them in terms of a straight line graph. So graphically sometimes you will may be asked to represent this, and you'll find that when the two graphs are drawn, that they will intersect at this given point here, which we just worked out, 2 and y and 1.